Hello, hello, hello again. Welcome to Power Moves, where we find ways to level up in our career, level up in our finances, and level up in life in general. It is so very good to see you all this evening. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Tonight, we are going to talk about how to communicate assertively. How to communicate assertively. Why is that important? Well, if you are maybe a wallflower, a shy person, someone who is like I used to be, virtually invisible, someone who works behind the scenes, doesn't say much, is soft spoken. A lot of the times when we do have something to say and we need to make a point and it's very important or set up a boundary, uh, we don't know how to do it correctly because, or we get spoken over, or we get manipulated throughout the conversation, or things of that nature, and people don't end up hearing what we have to say. Sometimes people like that need a technique in order to make themselves heard and get their point across. Okay, so that is where speaking assertively comes in. All right. And I'll define assertiveness. It's basically a confident and forceful behavior. And many of us are not the type of person. Maybe not confident, definitely not forceful. So, this is where communicating assertively comes in handy. It helps you to set up your boundaries and get your point across without getting derailed, to confidently state the facts without getting derailed or manipulated or gaslighted or any of those things. Okay? So, what are some techniques used by assertive communicators? Here are some things that you can do if you want to be more assertive. Number one, the technique is rehearsal. This is a good one. Get in front of the mirror and practice how you want to look and sound. If you are someone who becomes emotional when trying to communicate with someone about a behavior or statement that bothers you, this technique works well because you get all of your emotions out while you're rehearsing, and you're more confident when the time comes to really address the problem. Okay. And when I read that, if you're someone who becomes emotional when trying to communicate, I don't know if you used to watch um, Real Housewives of Atlanta, but Candy, whenever she had a problem and was trying to express herself, she would start crying. And I completely understand where she's coming from. And it's an infuriating quality because crying is not what you want to do right now. Since some people think it makes you look weak, some people may think it makes you look emotional, and that's not what you're trying to come across as. You are trying to make a point, a very important point, and tears are just getting in the way. So I completely understand that type of behavior, which is why rehearsal is so important. If you rehearse it enough times, when the time comes, you're confident, you're ready, and confidence is going to help you be assertive and say what you need to say. Okay? Address the problem. So rehearse first. Rehearse first. Another technique is repeated assertion, and a lot of people call this the broken record method. Okay? This is an easy type of assertion that involves you just repeating your main comment, complaint, or that you are issue until you are confident that you've made your request known and understood. So again, I'll read that. This is an easy type of assertion that involves just repeating your main complaint or issue until you're confident that you have made your request known and understood. Okay, this helps you by keeping the confrontation on track if the other person in question tries to manipulate, insult, or change the subject of the conversation. I don't know how many of you have dealt with narcissists or people with other personality flaws, who overstep their boundaries or either say something rude or disrespect you and just act like that's just run of the mill part of the conversation and keep moving. And you really have to stop them and nip it in the bud and say something. This technique is good for that because a lot of times when you bring up something that bothers you to a narcissist or anyone with a personality flaw, they come in and either turn the tables and make it about you, or they'll blow up and blow what you say up out of proportion and try to make you the bad guy. And this is called manipulation. They're just manipulating the conversation and avoiding being held responsible for their actions. Okay. And that is why repeated assertion is necessary. So, say you're dealing with someone who repeatedly calls you stupid, just in normal conversation. Oh, that's so dumb. Oh, you're so stupid. Okay. A repeated assertion is, I told you not to call me that. I'm not rude to you. I respect you and I deserve respect back. Okay? And if they're not apologizing, if they're not catching what you're saying, if it's not getting through, you simply repeat yourself again. I told you. I don't like it when you call me that. I respect you and I expect respect back. Broken record method. Okay? Eventually they're going to get tired of trying to evade you or evade responsibility, and they're going to give up and either agree or walk off. But you're not going to be the one that's made crazy. You're not going to be so mad you're throwing punches. You're not going to be frustrated and upset and crying because they won't listen to you or they won't respond the way you want them to, because you're asserting yourself. Okay? If you keep repeating yourself, you'll know that they know what you're saying eventually. Even if they're trying to cut you off or run you over during the conversation, once you repeat yourself enough times, they'll either give up or walk off, or they'll acknowledge your feelings. And that is the point of repeated assertion. Okay? Just keep repeating yourself. They'll get it. Even if they walk off, they understood what you were saying. Another technique is I language assertion. And a lot of marriage counselors coach couples to use I language assertion. So, what is I language assertion? Simply put, it's when you employ the I language assertion, you use this template, okay? So, you speak like as follows: when you do blank, it affects blank, and I feel blank. Therefore, I would like blank, okay? I'll say it again. When you do blank, it affects blank, and I feel blank. Therefore, I would like blank. Okay? And so, using that in like an example for you, it would be like, when you play your music loud, it affects my ability to concentrate, and I feel distracted. Therefore, I would like for you to use your headphones. Okay? And that's just one of the situations that you can employ the I language assertion. There are so many more. A lot of people who are in relationships, and they go to relationship counselors, and they'll attack the other party. They'll say, you're so emotionally unavailable. You're so rude. You never do this. You always do that. You're not supposed to use the words never and always when you're confronting a person, because that just blows the conversation up emotionally to another level. To keep things calm and rational, you use I language assertion. So when you stay out all night and come in at 2 or 3 in the morning, I feel neglected. Okay? You are confronting their behavior and not them as a person. You're not insulting them. You're not trying to make them feel low. You are confronting their behavior with your I language assertion. Okay? So, I language assertion is another technique. Confrontive assertion. Let's talk about this. This type of assertion works well when someone's words are not matching up with their actions. It works so well because you are pointing out the discrepancy instead of confronting the actual person. Again, you're pointing out the problem. You're not confronting the person or insulting the person. The template for this type of assertion is as follows. You describe what should have been done. You then describe what actually happened, then describe what needs to be done. Okay, so here's an example. The dog was supposed to be sent to the groomers 5 days ago. I see now the dog has not been groomed at all. I need you to bring him to the groomers ASAP. In the future, I would like to be notified when his grooming appointments are missed. Okay? So, someone agreed to bring the dog to the groomers. They said they would, but their actions didn't match up because they didn't. They didn't bring the dog to the groomers. So, that is just one type of situation where confrontive assertion works. Confrontive assertion. Okay. Number five, a workable compromise. Compromise is always great, and it's a good tool in relationships or of any kind. Okay. However, there is a caveat, and I will get to that later. But if basically, the workable compromise technique is very simple. Just try to find some middle ground between your needs and the needs of the other person. For example, I know you're hungry and want to go out for dinner tonight, but I need to finish writing this paper. How about we leave in a half an hour? Okay, that's a workable compromise. You're going to leave in a half an hour and go take care of your hungry partner, and that 30 extra minutes will help you get your paper done. Okay, so it's a win-win situation. Everybody gives a little bit. You might not finish your paper in 30 minutes, but you'll get more done. They might not get to eat before 30 minutes pass, but it will be done. Okay, now compromise is great, except when it involves matters of self-worth and self-respect. You never want to compromise when your self-worth and self-respect are on the table. Okay, so yeah, workable compromise, unless it's compromising your self-worth or self-respect, then there is no compromise available. You should never compromise in situations like those. Okay, so those were some techniques that assertive people have been using for quite some time to communicate and get their point across. I thought that I would share that with you. Okay, and here are a few things that you should consider once you're trying to venture out and be more assertive and using these types of techniques. Okay, and these are some things that I picked up on an article by Mike Lau for the North Central Behavioral Systems website. Okay, so here are some things to consider when you're trying to be more assertive. Eye contact. Okay, demonstrates an interest and shows a sincerity. So when you're trying to get your point across, even if you are using your assertion techniques, it may not get all the way across if you're not making eye contact, because the person is going to think, either he's going to pick up on those cues subconsciously and think, well, you're not super serious because you're not making eye contact, or you're nervous, so I can run over you or talk over you. So eye contact is a big deal, and it helps your assertive techniques. It gives them a boost. Okay, it helps make sure your point is made. Body posture is also important. Body posture is also important. Body language will improve, congruent body language will improve the significance of the message. Okay, so head up, chin up, and eye contact. Body posture. Gestures, talking with your hands. Appropriate gestures help to add emphasis. So when you talk with your hands and use them in certain parts of your communication, it's giving your communication an extra boost. Okay, so use your hands to talk if you can during the most important parts of your conversation. Voice. A level modulated tone is more convincing and acceptable and is not intimidating. Okay, level and modulated. Don't raise your voice because the other person is likely to feel attacked. Okay, use a level tone, a modulated tone. Okay, and you won't be crying. We don't want to do any of that. Okay, because crying is going to distract the person from what you're saying, and you're probably not going to be able to get your point across. So use a level modulated tone. Don't get distracted emotionally or get so upset that your voice goes all the way up here. That's not an effective way to communicate, and it just brings the whole conversation down for both of you. Okay, timing. Use your judgment to maximize receptivity and impact. Okay, that just means, use your common sense. If they're working under the car, doing an oil change, if they're outside in their flower garden, if they're eating and watching television, it might not be the right time to have an important conversation with them. You might want to wait till a calm period when they're not doing much and they have time to stop and actually listen to you. So timing is important. Content, how and where you choose to comment is probably more important than what you say. And that's so important. Content, how, where, and when you choose to comment is more important than what you say. Okay, they're going to get what you say if you choose the right time and the right how, where, and when. Okay, but if the how, where, and when are wrong, you're not going to get your point across completely. And you might end up just upsetting the other person further. So consider content. Okay. Okay, that was it for this evening. Again, we talked about communicating assertively. I gave you 5 techniques for communicating assertively. Number 1 was rehearsal. Number 2, repeated assertion. Number 3, I language assertion. Number 4, confrontive assertion. And number 5, workable compromise. Okay? I hope this helped you. It has helped me a great deal looking up this information and putting it together. I love talking to you guys, and I'm glad to be able to see you every week. So I will see you again next week. Please have a wonderful week and weekend, and I will see you later. Oh, if you have any questions about the content that I'm presenting, or if you have any ideas about content I could be producing in the future, you can always reach me on Facebook under Karon Mac, Karen Mac, on Instagram under Karen_Mac. You can reach me on my website at KarenMac.com. I would love to hear from all of you. And yes, that's how you can contact me. You can also catch some videos on my YouTube channel, and I post these same videos on my Instagram channel as well. Along with a couple of insights that come to me every now and then. I'll post those as well. I will see you all again next week. Have a good evening.